Hello everyone and welcome to my lavender haze era. It's cute. It's all lavender because the era store basically reset culture. That's all I'm saying about that. If you don't get it, that's fine, but you're missing out. Hello everyone, my name is Pat. I'm a Filipina living in the UK, and on this channel I document my experience of living abroad. If that feels like content that you want to see more of, make sure you hit that subscribe button so we see each other more often. So today we're going to talk about the question I get asked the most even before I moved to the UK, which is, how much would a trip to London cost? And in today's video, we are going to talk about rough estimates of how much it would cost for a Filipino traveler to come visit here to London. Again, solely to London lang. So let's say you want to go to other areas in the UK, that will not include it. We're just going to talk solely about London. So let's say you want to go to Glasgow, you want to go to Edinburgh, which is also very beautiful. We're not going to tackle that in this video. I think I would make a whole guide to the UK at some point, but I just want to start with London because that's the most common thing people ask me anyway. So as much as I want to make a video on like a tight budget, you know, like squeezing in your whole trip for like, let's say 100k or something, I'm not that type of traveler anymore. Yeah, kama may pera. But basically, the reality is going to London is expensive. It's not cheap. And I'd rather give you guys a realistic guide based on my experience as well. So again, I'd rather make a realistic budget than an over-promising one. My parents came over late last year, which is November to January. So I would say these are close estimates. I do want to note down that before we get started, these prices are very close estimates as of the time I'm filming this. This is not the prices right, guys. We are not gonna nail down the prices. Yeah, these are gonna be close estimates. And also, the prices can change when you visit and when you book your tickets. So let's begin. How much would a trip to London cost you? A guide for Filipino travelers. Let's start with the visa because obviously you can't come over here without the visa. When I processed my standard visitor visa, it was around 13,000 pesos. That's including my travel agent's fee, again, the processing for the bank statements, bank certificate. This visa, the standard visitor visa, is around 7,500 pesos. You can always check the gov.uk website for updated prices on how much it will cost you. So my estimate for the UK visa is 13,000 pesos, which is completely so much cheaper than the UK fiancé visa, which is the visa I'm currently on. Because that was around 200k. You know, you can check my video. Basically, it's on my profile. It's one of my most viewed videos. For the Filipinas or the Filipinos who are interested in marrying their British partner, I would highly recommend that video for you. Alright, let's talk about airfare. This is obviously gonna be the most expensive part of your whole trip. My ballpark figure for this would be around 55,000 pesos to 70,000 pesos for a two-way ticket, economy. And if you're wondering, the business class tickets that I booked from Manila to Heathrow was 120,000, again, for just one way. But it was the best experience of my life. I also have a video of that in my profile if you guys want to see it. You have to talk about how long you'll be staying in London. This could vary obviously on your time frame, how much time you get off work, your budget as well. But I think it's an important element to discuss because this will affect your overall budget, you know, and of course your overall experience of being in the city of London. Goes without saying, the longer you stay, the more expensive it will be. So I tried, during my first trip here in 2020, I tried going around London in one whole day. I was able to go to all the major spots from Trafalgar Square, Buckingham Park, hello, Buckingham Palace, Tower Bridge, the Globe, Borough Market. I was able to do everything in one day, but I will tell you now, it is not worth it because it is so tiring and you couldn't even enjoy like the sights. When I saw Big Ben, I was just like, okay, hello Big Ben, goodbye, because I need to go to the next spot, you know, because I was trying to fit everything in 24 hours. It's definitely doable if you just want to do the main site, but I feel like that it's not so much of an enriching experience, if you will. If you try to cram your trip to London all in one day, it's just gonna feel so rushed. You wouldn't enjoy it. I know I didn't. I would recommend at least 2 to 3 days within London itself. Don't be rushing, like, you know, just like, because it's so depressing if you do that. You barely get to soak in the city, you know. I would recommend, I think 3 is the magic number. You could have time to go to museums, which are free as well, which we'll talk about later. You can go inside churches, you know. You can walk around in a steady pace instead of like me where I was like, hello Big Ben, bye Big Ben, I need to see like the next thing now. But anyway, that's what I would recommend. At least 3 days within central London. And of course, if you have the budget for it, I would recommend 1 day trip to Bath, which is absolutely so beautiful. We will make another video on Bath. And 1 day in Oxford or Cambridge. Oxford is just so beautiful, guys. But obviously, just because you stepped in the campus doesn't mean you have a diploma. Like, is there shade here? Definitely. And if you're around town, let me know. Go up to Coventry. You know, we also have a very nice city, and we were City of Culture in 2021, guys. Come visit. So those are the other places, but again, in this video, we're just focusing on a trip to London. London is a very tourist city. There are a lot of hotels that you can choose from. I would say the most comfortable places to stay in England or the UK in general would be a travel lodge or a Premier Inn, and they are gonna be your standard affordable place to stay in the UK. So I've also stayed in My Place Hotel when my parents came over for the holidays, and I gifted them a trip to London, the affordable but alright one. I would say the facilities are a bit dated, but definitely the customer service, the staff definitely make up for the dated facilities. So what we spent here was around £120 a night, including a continental buffet breakfast. And if you divide it per head, that's £40 per head, and that is 1,600 pesos per person. So that was how much it cost us during the holidays. Of course, that's also peak season because we went around December, which is one of the best times to visit London as well. If you're looking for a hotel, there are a lot in central London, but if you want to save up, there would be a lot of hotels outside of the city center, and they would be more affordable. But my recommendation to you is, before you book your hotel, check where the nearest tube station is, because you need the underground to get around, especially if you're not within the central London area. We were staying at Earl's Court, that is so far away from Tower Bridge, that's far away from Big Ben. It's almost at the edge of Zone 1. Yeah, so my biggest tip for you is to find a hotel that's near a tube station, so you wouldn't have a hard time like going to and fro. There are a number of hostels as well. If you're not picky like me, I don't really mind staying at hostels because most of the time you're gonna be out anyway. Those are cheaper. Some of them are like £25 a night, but obviously you're sharing your room with other people, with strangers. If you're not comfortable with that, I wouldn't recommend it for you. Getting around in London, this is another expense that you have to factor in because London is huge and a lot of the main attractions you want to see will be spread out through the city. So getting around in London is incomplete without an Oyster card. The Oyster card is solely for the underground or within the city of London, basically. So if you want to transfer to a different city, that card will not work on the scanner. So you can get around London. Of course, you want to see that double-decker bus. I'm sure you guys want to ride it. So I would highly recommend you guys get an Oyster card. An Oyster card costs £7, just the card itself, and then you have to top it up. I've read some articles that it's refundable, but it's just such a pain in the ass to do so. So I would recommend just don't do that at all. But also, if you don't want to pay for the £7 for the card itself, you can also use your contactless or your debit cards directly on the scanners if you have a contactless card. I do want to put a tip down here that if you are in central London, a lot of the places are walkable. Okay, a lot of these places will not take you more than 5 minutes to go around. So let's say Piccadilly Circus, it's totally walkable. Going to Oxford Circus, totally close, but not everything. Okay, so I would still recommend that you guys get an Oyster card or use your contactless debit card on the double-decker buses and also the underground. So my estimate for this is, for the Oyster card alone, it's around 470 pesos plus a 1,000 peso top up if you're staying in London for 3 days. I think that's a good enough budget for you to tap in and top out. I can't say exactly how much the prices are in the underground because it's like trying to learn rocket science. There's Zone 1, Zone 2. You don't want to get into it. You just top up your Oyster card with at least 1,000 pesos, or that's around £10. 10 or 15 pounds would be a good estimate to put in your Oyster card so you can get around comfortably. Now let's talk about the food, the budget for the food. Expect to spend around 10 pounds to 25 pounds if you want to eat at a casual restaurant. That is 700 pesos to 1,500 pesos per meal, or even just a pub. I think that would be the price range. That would get you like a plate of fish and chips and a drink. But if you feel like 14, 20 pounds is a bit too steep or too expensive, there is a secret, which is you could eat meal deals. Meal deals are your best friend once you get here if you are on a tight budget, because meal deals basically give you a main, a drink, and a snack for a set price. So meal deals are available almost everywhere. You can go to Greg, Boots, a drugstore, Sainsbury. You could go to these convenience stores. Yeah, actually that's the term. These are basically convenience store food for like a set price. But I think Tesco has the cheapest one, which is £3.40. Deals will range from, let's say, £3 to £5 or £6, I would say, in London, because it's a bit more expensive. So my total estimate for the food budget would be around 3,000 pesos per day. Next is we're gonna talk about pocket money. Let's say you wanna buy souvenirs, pasalubongs, what have you. I would say bring 3,500 pesos per day for miscellaneous shopping items if you wanna buy some pasalubong. But again, if you wanna do a lot of shopping, I would recommend bring more, especially if you wanna go to TK Maxx and buy some branded bags or some branded clothes for less. But if you're wondering, well, I wanna go to the museums, girl, I wanna see some culture. Well, here's the good thing for you, because most of the activities in London are actually free. Which brings us to the next part, which is the activities. There are a ton of stuff to do in London for free. You do not have to pay at all to get into these fancy museums and stuff, because they are free, which is pretty cool, isn't it? And I do want to say, just walking around London is such a beautiful experience. Just seeing the main site. Like when I first saw Big Ben, I was like starstruck. And my parents were as well. They felt the same. They were like, oh my god, it's Big Ben. You can go inside the museums, you can go inside the churches, the main tourist attractions like Big Ben, Tower Bridge, Buckingham Palace, Birmingham Park, Naligaw. But for the museum, when my parents came over here and we went to the British Museum, the queue was just like, you know, Snake Reputation era Taylor's version. It is free, but obviously I feel like if you are there and you are pressed for time, I wouldn't want you to be wasting your time falling in line. However, since you are already in the city of art, culture, history, and theater, I would highly recommend you guys book tickets to a West End show. This is not sponsored, okay, but it can be. It can be sponsored. I usually book my tickets on todaytix.com. They also have an app, and they give you the cheapest prices for most of the West End shows that you might want to watch. The cheapest tickets would cost you anywhere from £25 to £35. Even if you are very far away, you will still have a good time, guys. I promise, because I book the cheapest tickets all the time. But I will note down here, if you buy ticket and you pick a seat and it has an exclamation point, that means that there's a caveat or a downside to the seat. So it could be, there could be a pole in front of you, it could have a limited view. But not all tickets are like this. Some of the cheapest tickets that I've purchased were just far away, but still had a good view, and I still enjoyed the show. So that brings us to the last part of the video, which is where we are gonna do our breakdown for the prices over here. So tallying it up, let's say that you're staying in London for 3 days on your own, so a solo trip. This is how much it would cost you. The visa is 13,000 pesos. The flight would be around 60,000 pesos for a two-way ticket. The hotel estimate per night per head, I would say, is around 3,300 per head per night. That is 9,900 pesos. I would say 1,470 for your Oyster card, you know, so you can get around. Food estimate is around 3,000 pesos per day. So that's 9,000 pesos in total for 3 days. That's your budget for your food. For the pocket money estimate, if you want to go shopping, again, put more money into this bowl. But basically, it's around 3,500 per head per day. So that's 10,500 for 3 days. For your activities, I put here free because a lot of the activities are free anyway. But I did put 2,000 so you guys could budget in like a West End show. So the total is this, 105,800 70 pesos. That is the final total. Again, these are rough estimates. You know, this is subject to change. This all depends on when you're coming or if it's peak season and whatever. Again, this is just supposed to be a guide to give you guys like a rough estimate of how much it would cost to come here to London, and not yet the whole of the UK. Okay, I feel like we'll do a video like that, but I wanted to focus on London first because obviously if you want to talk about the rest of the UK, the price is gonna go up because a train, let's say from where I live to Glasgow, I think it's around £100 or so. If you have like other saver tips, I'm sure the other people watching in this video would check the comments. So make sure to drop your tips on how to save money when you're visiting London down below. But that pretty much sums it up. I hope you guys were inspired to visit me in London. We will make another video with like other spots, like a full UK guide, because if you're coming to the UK, if you're coming to London, you might as well go everywhere else and see what the United Kingdom has to offer. There's a lot of things to see and do. If you like this video or if you learned something, make sure you hit that like button. If you are not yet subscribed, oh my god, what are you doing? Press the subscribe button so we see each other more often. Again, this has been Pat. I'm entering my lavender haze era, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!